Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to this lesson today. I wanted to make a quick video about playing over chord changes for those of you who are interested or struggling to wrap your mind around that concept. A lot of the times, a lot of beginner or even intermediate guitar players struggle to play chord changes, so they end up reverting to finding the key signature, and then they play that one scale that works over everything. So if you really want your playing to sound more mature, and more interesting, then you really have to start outlining the chord changes. So I'm going to show you how to do that in this lesson. It's going to be very basic, just surface level kind of stuff here. So go ahead, grab your guitar, tune up, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, so as I stated earlier, most guitar players at the beginner or intermediate stage tend to just find the key center of whatever the jam or the song is, and they find the scale that works over everything, and they just kind of play that. So that would be kind of like the basic way to play chord changes, if you will. So I'm going to demonstrate real quick how that looks. So this jam here I pulled up is in C minor, so that would be right here, right? So I'm only going to use C minor. I'm not going to outline the chord changes at all. So this is going to be kind of like a basic demonstration here. So let me go ahead and pull up this backing track I have here, and we'll get right into this. So here is a basic example. Alright, cool. So yeah, that was a pretty basic example there. That was just playing C minor over the whole progression. And it sounds okay. It works and it'll get you by. But if you want to get to the next level, again, we're going to have to start outlining the chord changes here. So if we go ahead and reference back to this jam here, we're going to notice a couple things. So let me go ahead and pull this jam up again. Give me one moment while I copy it and move it. Here we go. So as we listen here, we've got kind of a C going on, an A flat, F, C, A flat, F. So let's just focus on those first two chords there, which are C major 7 and A flat major 7. We need to kind of figure out what those arpeggios are. So the way I would kind of go about this is find all the places they exist on the neck. So to make up an arpeggio, we know we need the first, the third, the fifth, and the seventh notes of their respective scales. So here's an example. In C major, we have the 8th fret of the E string to the 12th, to the 10th of the A, 9th of the D, and 10th of the D. And with that, we know there's multiple ways to play a given arpeggio or scale in one position. So that was one way. Here's another way. Here's another way. So that's kind of your homework. You definitely want to sit down and figure out all the different ways you can play it in one position and then move it all over the neck as well. So let's move down here to, this would be the 3rd fret of the A string. Right, so we know there's a ton of different ways we can play it, but that is up to you to figure that much out. So figure out that arpeggio and then put it all over the neck. And we want to move to the next chord and do the same thing. So here's A flat. Right. So we know we've got multiple ways we can play these. So I would go ahead and figure those out. And then once you have them all under your fingers, the next thing we can do is put on the backing track we're trying to play the chord changes over and simply just play up and down the arpeggios for each chord. So I'm just going to pick two basic shapes here, the ones we kind of just covered. I'm going to take this one here in C, and then I'm going to take this one here in A flat on the 11th fret of the A string. You can see I need a little work with that one myself. So the next thing I would do here is I would grab that backing track again. Give me one moment while I pull it up. And like I said, we're just going to play those arpeggios up and down across this backing track as the chords pass. So here we go. So here's C major. So yeah, that's one way that you can start figuring out how to play chord changes here, is by just playing up and down the arpeggios over the respective chords as they pass in time. And you want to do that for all the spots that exist across the neck. I can't emphasize that enough. You want to be able to do this everywhere it exists on the neck, okay? So the next thing you want to do here is understand the relationship between the two chords. So if we narrow this down to what are the specific chord tones of each chord, which is just the arpeggio, we want to know the note names of them. So if we take our C major arpeggio, which is C, E, G, B, C, B, G, E, and C, and now we play our A flat major arpeggio, we've got A flat, C, E flat, G. So if we recognize what the note names are, we can kind of compare here. So if you look on the screen here, I went ahead and threw these up here. You can see the chord tones in front of you. You're going to notice that some of these chord tones are really close together. For example, our root of C major is the same as the third of A flat major, right? If we look at the third of C major, it's a half step away from the fifth of A flat major. So we've got E and E flat there. If we look at the fifth of C major and the seventh of A flat major, they're the same note. They're both G, right? And then if we look at the seventh of C major and we look at the root of A flat major, those are about a step and a half apart. But more importantly, that seventh is a half step below the third of A flat. So you can start to kind of connect the dots here and see how close these are. And what you want to do with that is play these in a way that you're connecting them, if that makes sense. So if you're playing a line, say you're doing your C major stuff, right? So there's my third, and I want to go to that E flat of A flat major, right? Then from here, I can resolve to that seventh, which is a half step above on C major. So you can start to kind of see how these connect, and that's something you're going to want to kind of play around with yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and show you another example here. And I'm just going to kind of play around with these. And another thing to note is if we look at that C, E, and G of C major, and then we have a C, E flat, and G in A flat major, all that's telling me is I can play C major and C minor, right? Because to make a C minor chord, all we need is that flat third, right? So from C, E, and G, and then C, E flat, and G, now I've got a major and a minor comparison, and I can use that to play over this chord change, which means over C major, I could play C major, and over A flat major, I could play C minor. I know that sounds confusing, but you start to draw the conclusions. So here's how that sounds. Let me grab this backing track again. And here we go. Alright, right, so that was just taking C major to C minor, which both work over that progression of C major and A flat major. Another thing you can do is you can try to target specific chord tones like we were kind of talking about earlier. And for this example, let's just pick one at a time. You don't want to try to take on too much. Just try to understand that one movement at a time. So let's just take that E, which is the third of C major, and we're going to try to resolve it to E flat, which is the fifth of A flat major. Okay, so I'm just going to focus on that. So let's make sure we can find our third. So here's our root. There's our third. So if we want to get to that E flat, we just need to bring it down a half step. So what I'm going to try to do as I go through this is just outline and really target this major third here on the C to this fifth of A flat. Or in a nutshell, E natural and E flat. So try to listen for that. I'm going to really focus on nailing those chord tones. So let's go ahead and plug this track in again. Here we go. Here's the major third. Minor third. Let's take another example here. So let's look at the fifth of C major, which is G, and we're going to look at the root of A flat major, which is A flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our fifth here of C major. So here's our root, third, fifth. Okay, so if we want to find our root of A flat major, we need to find A flat, which is a half step above that fifth of C major, correct? So here we go. Fifth, and there's our root of A flat major. So let's do the same thing here. I'm going to plug the track in, and I'm really going to try to outline this change. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and give that one a whirl. So here's our fifth. All right, let's take one more here, for example. Let's do, see, there's not a lot of different chord tones here between the two chords. Another thing we could focus on is going to be that root, the seventh of C, which is B natural, and the third of A flat, which is C. So let's go ahead and find our major seventh of C. So here's our root, 1, 3, 5, 7. And then our third of A flat, which is C, is going to be a half step above B natural, right? So there's C. So I'm going to go ahead and try to really outline those two notes as I play through this. So here we go. Let's go ahead and take this track again. Here we go. So that's going to be how to really do this here, guys. You want to look at the chords you're trying to move between and see what the difference is between those chords. You want to look at the chord tones that are really close together within a half step or a whole step. And as you're moving from chord to chord, really try to emphasize those close tone movements there, okay? And don't just do this in one position where we were just kind of doing it. Again, really make sure that you're doing this all across the fretboard and all the places it exists. This is going to be very freeing for you. You're going to learn the fretboard extremely well, and you're going to be able to really express yourself on the instrument in the way that you would like to. If there's anything you guys still aren't understanding about playing over chord changes and you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will answer those questions for you. And if you're looking for even further guidance, I do offer private Zoom lessons and private mentorship. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and leave a comment below about that and I will get in touch with you and we can go from there. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys are seeing some knowledge out of this, seeing things from a different perspective, and ultimately seeing some awesome gains in your guitar playing. So if you guys are liking the stuff you're seeing here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, because that all goes a really long way in me continuing to make these videos for you. But other than that, that's it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.